So, I'm going to do a video with that guy right there. He's got a little goatee. You want to be like that. Like that.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
If you got questions, ask him now before this gets out of hand. Right?
Yeah. You've got, did we say 3 minutes?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
And a swinging garage thing.
When that stops, we're done.
Hurry up. Dope. Hey, how's it going? So, I'm here with Perry Ormsby.
How you doing?
Nice to see you. So, we did a video yesterday. There's a plane going overhead. It's kind of loud.
It's a jet.
It's a jet. See what you did there? Oops. So, we didn't really have a plan for you at this moment, so we're just going to freeform. We're going to do some interpretive dance, we're going to talk, and then we'll see what happens. However, I did ask a few weeks ago if you had some questions to send them. So, we're going to talk about those right now.
Sure.
So, I said, what if a ridiculously gifted luthier was traveling to the States and visited his old pal Sully for a couple days during a trip? He did. I want to know what you wanted to see. And let's see. J.R. Schultz says, proper setups. Smiley winky face. Let's talk about proper setups.
Sure.
So, they got to be set up.
They've got to be set up
Properly.
properly. As long as they're done properly, they're done.
What do you look for in a setup?
Low action.
Right?
As little as possible buzz. Well, you get a little bit. As long as it's not going to come through to your amp, it's good.
Okay.
Yep. You don't want notes to choke out when you're bending.
True story.
The nut has to be low enough that it feels good.
Yeah.
Down with open chords.
Yeah.
And you want your intonation right.
Yeah. You want to make sure your neck is nice and adjusted too. And you also want to make sure that you have a smile on your face. Adam Hicks, I just want a new video. LOL. Granted. Clark Stokes asks, pickup height, neck adjustments. It's not really asking anything, but he's giving us information about what he would like to know.
Sure.
So, pickup height. You don't want to get it too close to the strings. Unless you've got active pickups like EMGs where you kind of got to get them kind of close.
I actually prefer them a little further away.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've got that much output.
Right.
I actually think that EMGs recommend you start off a little further away.
And then bring them up?
Yeah, and I guess with pickup heights, set your bridge pickup to suit the tone you want. And that could be close, that could be further away depending on the output you want or the amount of, I guess, crunch and drive and whatnot. Right. And then adjust your neck pickup to suit. Now some guys, when I'm setting up guitars for guys, some guys prefer the neck pickup to be a little louder than the bridge pickup.
Yeah.
Because they might flick to the neck, do a solo, they're only playing single notes, they're not playing chords. If they don't have an EQ that they boost in or an overdrive that they boost in for a solo, they sometimes want their neck pickup to be a little louder.
Right.
Other guys want them a little softer in volume to the bridge pickup.
Okay. Because
they might flick to the neck to do a couple of clean interludes and arpeggios and whatnot.
Right.
I prefer the same volume from both pickups.
Yeah.
If anything, the neck just a touch louder.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What, is there anything in particular that, any reason why?
I like to flick to the neck pickup for soloing.
Okay, so you get a little one louder.
So you've got that little bit, you tend to drop off a bit of volume if you're only playing single notes. And you know what I mean? The string, if you're playing up near the 24th, your string isn't physically vibrating as much as if it was and you were hitting an open chord.
Right.
So therefore your strings automatically aren't going to be as loud. Yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, if you set them at the same volume, you're not going to have any troubles.
Yeah, yeah.
But it all comes down to taste. So you might prefer that your, like I said, your bridge pickup is backed off a bit because you want to crank the gain on your amp a little more than punch the front end of your amp with a high output pickup.
Right, right.
You know, a lot of guys might want, let's say, JB.
Some people do like those. Okay, we'll go.
I don't know if I'd call them people. But let's say you got a JB, and that's a fairly loud pickup.
Yeah.
Right? You might want to drop it off a bit, lose a bit of volume, get a bit more gain, and crank through the output stage of your amp, crank up the preamp. You might find that is your tone.
Yeah.
Other guys might prefer an underwound pickup, or at least, let's say, more of a PAP or a 59 or a custom, maybe. Yeah. They're really cool. They might want an Ormsby nunchucker.
They might.
They would. You know, and that isn't necessarily as hot, so you might want it a little closer.
Sure.
So it all comes down to personal preference, and you really can't make a mistake with pickup heights. Just try it.
Okay.
Play around with it. Experiment. Spend an hour getting that tone. Take a couple of measurements maybe when you start off, so you know where to get back to.
Sure.
Just play around with it.
Do you find, so making your own pickups?
Yep.
Do you find that you wind up adjusting the pole pieces, maybe, you know, some raise them up, some down?
My default is the two outside poles are pretty much flush, or at least the edges of the dome of the screw heads are flush, and or just under, and then the center, like the D and the G string, are a little higher. I do that more because that's what people expect.
Okay.
It's so subtle that really, you know, there's been very few guitars where I found I needed to adjust one string a little higher to suit. Yeah. And you've always got on a humbucker generally one side that is non-adjustable. Yeah. Unless it's a Ormsby nunchucker, of course.
Of course.
Of course. But, you know, you can't adjust one side anyway.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, and if you have a tune-manic, you've got a neck angle, generally, unless you've recessed it, and then the pickup's on an angle anyway. Right. So
the whole point is that, yes, you can do it, but it's really not necessary.
When it came down to it, Gibson invented the humbucker and put an adjustable pole pieces in there to be different to Fender. Right. Not so that you could adjust it, but more so they could say that you could adjust it.
Sure. Going back to the JB, some people do like them. Honestly, I'm not one of them. However, a lot of people talk about JBs sound very inconsistent across guitar to guitar. And one thing that's, you know, it's information that's out there, but it's not commonly shared, is that they recommend that you use a 250K pot instead of a 500 for a JB, and it tends to make them come alive. So, there you go. Or you can just get a nunchucker.
We see I wouldn't use a JB, so...
I wouldn't either. But if you had no choice...
Just play an acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar there you go. Okay, next. Andy Prokopik. Apologize if I just slaughtered your last name. Live feed? Question mark. I'm Ron Burgundy. Well, we're alive.
We are alive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And this is live?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
We're not eating.
And we're going to, at some stage, upload it live.
Yeah.
We'll be living while we upload it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andy crossed that off your list.
If he's not here, I'm sorry, well, we can't account for everyone.
Zubin Isaac talks about routing out bodies from blanks as opposed to using a saw, kind of like how a CNC would.
Yeah.
You get your blank and then...
grab your blank, draw out shape, cut it fairly close. I'm going to use the metric system because I don't know how many billionths of an inch it is. A couple of millimeters, or I use a thick art liner. Do you have art liners?
Like a Sharpie?
Sharpie? Yeah, so regular Sharpie.
Yeah.
Draw that right around your template, and I try and cut to the outside edge of that Sharpie art liner line. And then I screw my template down, and the screws go into the pickup, where the pickup cavity is going to be, or the neck cavity, or a tremolo route, or whatever.
Cut away.
And then I route it down. Some woods are a little harder, like Tasmanian blackwood.
Sometimes Tasmanian black wouldn't.
Yeah. Some of the harder timbers I'll try and cut a little tighter with the bandsaw, purely because that particular wood is very tough.
Yeah.
It has a tendency to burn if you're taking too much off.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Honduras mahogany or alder, you can afford to leave a little bit more meat on there and route that away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't route straight up. I mean, you could do it, there's no reason why you couldn't do it. I mean, essentially you're doing the same thing routing out pickups. Right?
Yeah.
Or a neck joint or whatever.
Sure.
But I would, if you've got a bandsaw, use it.
Yeah. Or, I mean, if you don't have a bandsaw,
you're going to have
try and get
a lot
one.
of trouble.
You can use a jigsaw, but with certain woods, you're going to be spending a lot of time. Some people will actually like drill like with a Forstner bit around. They don't have a bandsaw to kind of get around that.
Yeah.
If you were very passionate about cutting out this body with a router, you're going to need a real thick template, because if you're starting out, you got the router on, you're plunging down, and there's nothing for the.
Well, you wouldn't do it in one pass, right?
Well, no, absolutely not. But and that's my point. If you're starting out with the shallow cuts,
yep.
You got to get.
Once you've got your first
drill
cut,
it away.
Once you've done your first cut, though,
and use the perimeter. For
you
that.
can take your template off
This
and
is
use
fun to
your
do.
yeah. But I mean, ultimately, you just should buy a Sully
bandsaw
guitar
or bandsaw
or a Sully guitar.
Well, yeah, you can do that too. Okay, let's see. Rodolfo Emmanuel Zoranda says scalloping frets.
Okay. Yep. You've not done that, right?
No.
Okay. I like a splayed, what I call a splayed scallop. So I start at the 12th fret. We've got a fretboard. We need a fretboard.
Excuse me.
I start off at the 12th fret with my guitars, and this is something that I'm known to do. I don't generally scallop the whole thing unless someone asks for it. I start off and I create an arc that goes to the 29th fret, usually is what I use the scalloping on when I go to 29 frets. Create an arc with a pencil line, and then I use a series of files and rasps. I use the Dragon files from, or at least similar products to what StewMac offer with their Dragon. Is it a Dragon cut or a
Dragon rasp?
Dragon teeth or something like that. And I basically go through and I have a couple of different sizes, so as the frets get a little closer together, I use a narrower, tighter radius, and I basically rasp and file those in. And then from there I grab, let's say, 80, 120 grit, 240, right up to 320, 400, 600, wrap it round a bit of dowel, and for 20 bucks or $10 US, you can probably get a series of sizes, 4mm, 6mm, 8mm, 10mm, and you can wrap that around, you can glue it around, whatever, and use that to sand across the grain, and then you can use it in a rotating motion to go with the grain.
Sure.
I finish off with my orbital sander, 400 grit, and I sort of come in on an angle, and that rounds off the tops and makes it almost a flowing, smooth motion. That's how I do it. In the past, I've also cut strips of sandpaper and I've wrapped it around a dowel and then put the dowel in a cordless drill.
Yeah.
And sort of you clamp down the fretboard, and I'm holding one end and I'm drilling and spinning and stuff like that. But I have gone over to the Dragon
rasp file
things.
Yeah.
They're really good. They cut really fast. They're really smooth. They leave a nice finish. And I reckon that it would take maybe half an hour to do that when I do, like I say, the arc. So this side is scalloped, that's not. It's in an arc formation. A lot of people believe that scallops will help them play faster. I don't subscribe to that at all. That comes from the Yngwie Malmsteen shredding thing, and I think people just assume because he plays fast and he wears a puffy shirt that
he's a pirate.
Yeah, and you know, what are they going to do? Rape and pillage. So a lot of people, I think, feel as though it makes them play faster, and I'm sure there's some people that definitely do play faster because of scalloping. I like to scallop to help with bending. If you bend the string, you've got to push down on the string to create downward pressure so it doesn't slip from under your string,
right.
and then you've got to bend up.
Yeah.
If there's a recess there that the meat of your finger can get into, that almost wraps around the string. You don't hardly even need to push down any more than you would normally do for fretting. You just simply bend. And once, certainly guys that have used my guitars that have the scalloping have adjusted their technique, which, you know, years of playing in a certain way can take time to readjust.
Yeah.
Once they get used to it and actually try and adjust their technique, they find that it's a lot easier to do bends. And it's something they get used to, and then the problem is they play one of their old guitars again, and
You've ruined them for others, is what you're saying.
what can I say? You know, many women have said the same thing.
Next question. Jim Nessel asks, how about the use of wood veneers? Tips on installing type of glue, pros and cons. Also, what's the difference between? The difference between what? Between pros and cons? Pro is for, con, not. So the use of wood veneers. Decorative?
Yeah, I use a wood veneer if someone wants the look of a certain timber but not the tonal aspects of it.
Right.
You know, a drop top isn't really going to change the sound too much.
Sure.
But a wood veneer is not really going to do anything. It's just going to give you that pretty finish, or you might want an ebony veneer top, but you don't want the weight. So, yeah, I kind of think it looks a little funny having a really thin top and no binding, so I only really do it when I'm going to do binding.
Sure.
I use Titebond to glue it down. I pre-join. I use a water-based paper tape. So it's not almost like the, well, I hope you guys have postage stamps that you have to lick.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's almost like that glue. And just a sponge with some water on it, get the tape, wet it, do up the join, and then I try to veneer before I've even cut the body out. So I'll cut the forearm shape, it'll still be a body blank. That way I don't have to worry about cutting the veneer to size or any of that. I can lay down the glue. I use a foam applicator, brush, roller thingy. I tend to water down my Titebond with about 10 to 20% water. I put on a really thin coat on the wood. I let it kind of set for a minute or so, and then put on a thicker coat. Put down the veneer, tape the join with masking tape so that it won't move, or painter's tape, do you call it?
Yeah.
So it won't move anywhere, it won't curl up, because as soon as it gets that moisture from the glue on the veneer, it's going to try and cup. It's so thin though, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And then I use a veneer, a vacuum press. So that's basically a rubber bag. Put the blank in there, turn the compressor on, the compressor pumps air through a vacuum feed thing and sucks all the air out. And it's about, on a body blank, it's close to a ton of pressure. So if you've got flame maple veneer and it's a heavy flame, when they've sliced it off the block, it can have ripples. As the flame tries to straighten out, it'll press that out like nothing else. You can use, I've heard of people using sandbags there. You could use the body template on top and clamp it.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with, if you thin the glue out too much, it can actually soak through the fibres in the pores.
And then glue your template
and glue your template down.
Wax paper is your friend.
Yeah, I always forget about that. I've glued a number of,
It's a template top?
Yeah. Custom wood's fantastic tone wood when you've accidentally glued it on top.
Right.
Really, if you want a veneer top, put it on.
Yeah.
You know?
And then also talking about, that's just the super thin, like an actual veneer.
Yeah, veneer is points. The technical specs for a proper veneer is 0.7 of a millimeter, which is
It's really thin.
1/89.5 of.
Carry the two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Square root of an inch.
Right. If you want to do the thicker tops, please see the video that I uploaded a few weeks ago. Of course, what was that? Of course, if you're watching this later, it'll be longer weeks, a while ago, about gluing up maple top, and how I go about that. I hope that kind of answers questions. Chris Payne talks about nut installing and replacement. That's a broad stroke.
Glues used to install nuts?
Let's start there.
I use Type 1 to install a nut.
You don't need a lot. You don't need to lock it down. You
need one drop, cut it in half, get rid of half of it, spread that half on there, press it down, clean up any flow out, which there won't be any.
Should be, yeah.
And chuck a bit of masking tape on there, come back in 20 minutes, go for it.
Yeah, you can also use like some string pressure if you've got the slots. If somebody has like a pre-cut nut, you want to glue it in if you want to.
Although you've got to be careful, because if the headstock splays out and your strings kind of splay out, you can pull from one side.
Yeah.
You don't really want that.
You don't.
Unless you're going for some experimental thing, but
replacement, if you've got a nut that you've got to replace, and once you've removed it, make sure that you clean up all of the glue that was there, and you want to make sure that you've got a nice 90-degree, perfectly flat for the new nut to go into. Also, again, if you're using like a pre-made nut, or you've got to flatten that thing out to make sure it's at a 90-degree so it matches. Obviously, if you're making your own nut blanks, you gotta do the same thing. That's crucial.
Or antler blanks.
Antler blanks, yeah. Found a little bit of that today.
Yeah,
that's fun. It's good.
Yes, it's gonna be evil.
I have a couple questions about. Where it goes. Dom Hilton talks about bolt-on neck angles for different bridges. So, neck angles are neck angles. And what I mean by that, it doesn't really matter if you've got a set neck or a neck through or a bolt-on. If you have a neck angle, it's relative to your bridge and the bridge height.
If the bridge requires a neck angle, it doesn't matter what type of neck joint you've got. It requires a neck angle.
Cleaner way of saying that. Look at you.
I'm Australian.
And I'm an ass.
No, that would be me.
So, just answering quick questions about bolt-on neck angles. If you've got like a fender strap kind of bridge, and you've got a fender spec neck pocket, you don't need one. That was kind of made that way. If you have a Floyd, yes.
Although Fender always put a little piece of sandpaper in there to get the neck angle right, but yes.
Well, yes.
Or a tally-ho paper.
A what?
Or masking tape.
A tally-ho paper?
Cigarette rolly paper.
Ah!
Or wet and dry. Or veneer.
Right. Not that.
We don't do that. We're only talking about massive US corporations that have had 60 years to get things right.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure. If you've got like a Tune-o-matic or like a Floyd Rose that is non-recessed, generally it's like 1.5 to 2 degrees. Also, this is also relative to where the body meets the neck at what fret, because that can all come into factor.
And how high the fretboard is above the body face, and whether you've got a carved top or not.
Yep.
Do this. For more fun and information regarding neck angles, Google Tundra Man Neck Angle Calculator. Good stuff. Next question. Introduction and interview. Well, I guess we're doing that. Use wood veneers. Okay, yeah. Oh, and a beer review. One of your countrymen mentioned that you thought that we should discuss the differences between American and Australian beers. And
okay.
So
I don't drink beer, sorry.
So there's that.
All I know is Foster's is not available in Australia. What's the other Australian beer you get? They all taste like cat piss, honestly.
How would you know? Never mind. Next question. Alex Bell asks, favorite, ooh, with an O-U-R-I-T-E.
That's English.
Yeah. Favorite tone wood. What's your favorite tone wood?
Australian timbers would be Tasmanian blackwood. I think it sounds really good. I nearly swore there, but I'm not sure about the rating of this video, so I can't go too over the top.
Oh,
but it's
you can. You can say
it's fucking amazing.
Fuckity fuck.
It's heavy though. It's heavy, but it does sound great. If you can imagine, compared to mahogany, the bottom end is tighter, right? Which mahogany sounds great, but I just find the bottom end a bit flubby for me. I like the arse to be tight.
Right.
The mids on Tassie Blackwood are a little bit more pumped up. So your EQ, if it was flat for mahogany, it'd be a little bit of a hump there for the mids. The top end's very similar to mahogany. It's more of a pain in the butt to deal with regarding shaping, sanding.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
That kind of stuff. Non-Australian timbers, black limber.
Yeah, it's a good one. Agreed.
And for tops, can't go past a phenomenal piece of wood.
Good stuff. I like a lot of things. I love the black limba, also called Carina. I like various mahoganies. I like cutting Spanish cedar. I like Spanish cedar. It's nice and light. Looks like mahogany. Has some very similar tonal characteristics to mahogany, but it's got a little bit more mids. We know that you're a fan of that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's also lightweight, and I tend to like lightweight guitars more than ones that are really heavy. Although the guitar that I like most is one that's resonant. Any particular ones that you hate working with?
I do a lot of wenge necks.
Yeah.
Wenge, wengy, wenge.
Wenge.
Wenge. I don't know. Every time I go down and buy it, they tell me it's called something else, but I call it wenge because it sounds cool.
It's fun to say though.
It's wenge.
Wenge.
It is a pain in the butt to shape. It's very hard to get flat, as in the dark part of the grain is very tough.
Yeah.
And the slightly lighter chocolate coloured is a lot softer. You almost can't get away from feeling the grain.
Yeah.
But my experience is guys feel that and they're like, whoa, that feels awesome that I can feel the grain.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like always trying to get it as flat as I can.
Yeah.
You know? Doesn't require an oil finish, although I always put a little bit on. Little hard to keep it straight and flat when you're shaping the neck because there's that much stress is in the timber and you're cutting the timber down and it moves and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with, but I like the tone.
Yeah, splinters.
And it, you get a splinter, it festers and your arm falls off. The dust doesn't bother me, but I get lots of wood boogers. Right?
Maybe a match.
Chocolate. Well, see, the dust falls a different direction.
Safety third, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the dust falls in a different direction in Australia, so falls upwards because we're
magic
down there.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Wengy, whatever. I like it. Winger is awesome. What else do I like? I like Indian rosewood necks, solid Indian rosewood necks. It's really hard to get this stuff in Australia, but I don't care. I just search for it.
Nice.
Yeah, but they're getting a bit heavy, but as in weight. But the resonance from a solid Indian rosewood neck sells a guitar like that.
Yeah.
It's as soon as someone sees it, it's unusual to look at because you expect maple or mahogany or a cherry red or something like that, and they see this dark colour and instantly people want to know what it is. They play it, it feels good.
Done and done.
Yeah.
Next question. Donald Hall asks, do you ever plan on making basses? I will take that because I'm assuming you're asking me. Yes, I do. However, not today. And it's the same thing as 7 strings. Haven't made a 7-string, primarily because it's not my prime focus. But if someone orders one, I'll do it.
Yep.
And as we talked, it's also one of those things that I'll just have to get around to doing. So 7 strings, basses, yes, I will get around to that, just not anytime super soon. Joe?
You forgot to mention that a bass that I built, not to toot my own horn, but
not
actually sold for the second highest price in the history of, well, the universe, I guess.
Yes. It's a pretty spectacular thing.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get any money from it, and it nearly went bankrupt, but someone got 100 grand. Someone.
it's not me.
Yeah, and it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got all the bills.
You had, you know, to be serious, Perry was featured in Guitar World magazine in 2000...
Something? 2010.
10? Okay. For building a bass.
May issue.
May issue. Who's on the cover?
Those crooked
Them crooked vultures?
Don't
Those
worry about the
crooked
people, it just read the bit where it says that I'm in there. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You built a bass for Kelly Garney, who was the original bass player for Quiet Riot. Not on this record. And a childhood friend of Randy Rhoads, and there are a lot of special things about that particular bass. And do this. Do some Googling. Use the internet to its fullest extent. Google Kelly Garney.
Thumbnail
Bass.
bass.
Yeah. You'll be glad you did. Joe, I'm just going to say you're Joe G, because I'm Brazilian, I hope. If not, I'm sorry, right there.
I'll leave that one to you.
So Joe asks my favorite pickup layout and models. Me personally, I like humbuckers. I like just a humbucker in the bridge. I don't necessarily care if there's a neck pickup. However, you know, do that as well. I don't particularly, and this is just a visual thing, it's also, well, it's kind of like what I grew up with. I'm getting to it. I don't really care for the hum, single, hum thing. I don't really like hum, single, single unless the singles are slanted back like Jake Ely, because Jake was cool. My particular favorite pickup, and has been my favorite pickup since, I don't know, a long ass time, is the mighty Seymour Duncan Custom. It's done everything that I could ever want for a pickup to do, except for make me a grilled cheese sandwich. So I'm very excited.
Which, of course, the
Ormsby Nunchucker
can do.
which is good, because I really love grilled cheese. So Perry was kind enough to bring a couple of pickups, and he brought the Nunchucker bridge pickup and the Della Creme neck pickup. And I'm very excited that they will go in the prototype for the Sully 71 number 2. And I see the body over there. And somebody had asked a question, Andrew Kanyak says, where's the 71 prototype? Is it finished? It's in the house, and no. Mike Learn, where's the beer? Excellent question.
Where's Mike Learn?
Colorado. Not here.
Disappointed.
It's a little
Disappointed.
It would be awesome, because he does brew beer. And I know you don't drink beer, but if that pickup can make a grilled cheese
If
sandwich,
he came here and painted a beer, I'd be impressed.
there you have it. Aubrey Clark asks, my question is, if I fake a heart attack, will you build me a gifted telly copy? I don't know if you're asking me or asking Perry.
What's a gifted?
Like, giving it to you as a gift?
Freebie.
My official answer is, 1, you lost me a copy, and 2, I'm sorry, but no. But I love you.
Gifted people. That's us. Well, really. Yeah.
Next question.
There's a compliment somewhere in there. Yep.
Well, he's saying if he fakes his own death. Well, you're not even saying if he fakes his own death. He's saying if you fake a heart attack.
Yes, if you're going to do it properly, just do it properly.
Fake your own death?
No, have a real heart attack.
Well, that's not very nice.
You want a guitar or not?
Wow, you're hardcore. Gary McDonald, between you and Perry, do you find a big difference in do you find a big difference in your methods of construction? Have you learned anything from each other's building style, other than who knows more about Randy Rhoads. Yeah, we have probably a lot of different methods between.
We've talked about Randy a lot.
A lot.
We haven't even started talking about guitars yet.
No.
If you were going to do a ratio,
yeah,
we've probably spent 12 hours talking about guitars, but it doesn't equate to a percentage yet.
Because we're not done.
Because we're not done, and we've spent a hell of a lot. I've been here, what, 48 hours?
Yeah.
67/5 of an hour?
Yes.
I don't know what the imperial system is. I only know metric hours. But
it's a milli-hour?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what can we say? We do things a little differently, but I am learning him. He is learning him.
Exactly. Next, Josh Stoddart. Do you like polishing wood? You? Art Tyron, I have an old Ibanez bass I am refinishing. I have sanded it down to the wood, very smooth, and it is ready to paint. My plan was to primer it, then paint it a silver gray color, and have an artist that is going to put some graphics on it for me. What primer/paints do you suggest to use? Also, what kind of paint to use for the graphics? I don't have spray gun or anything for the paint. I was hoping to use spray paint for the primer/base color and planning to do some sanding afterwards before applying a clear coat once the graphics are done. Am I going about this in the right way? I'm going to say this. If you don't have spray gun, it's fine, but go to reranch.com and read their Refinishing 101. That's going to give you all the information that you're going to need in a much more in-depth format that we would ever get into or kind of want to go into, because that's a huge topic. My advice, so read that a bunch of times, commit it to memory, read it more. It's all in the prep work. Make sure all your stuff is good and flat. Your primer, sealer, all that good and flat. I'm trying to answer just a couple of.
Most importantly, you should probably talk to the artist that's doing the airbrushing.
Yeah, there's that.
And find out what he wants.
And do what he says. Actually, do this. A couple posts up, Mike Learn, MikeLearn.com. Talk to Mike. The guy's amazing, and he'll take care of you.
But he's not here, so.
He's not here. And we miss him.
Never met him.
You miss him.
I don't really miss him.
I think you should. No. You don't know what you got until it's not.
I came to the USA. It's his turn to come to Australia, right?
Yeah. So we'll be doing a Kickstarter to send Sully to Australia. You know, I think that's a lot. I think we've covered everything that I've got here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, just seeing you guys do a montage of all the different processes people have said with badass background music, then switch into formal music, doing something today totally off topic, then back into the badass music, going back with guitar building stuff. So, Austin, I'm going to take this time to say that I'm very deeply sorry that we didn't do any of that. But I hope in your heart of hearts, somewhere in here, you found value, or at least some entertainment. If not,
get your money back.
Very sorry. It's kind of hot in here. And it's not just me. So we're going to go and make dinner.
Yeah.
How about that?
What are we having?
Delicious tilapia. Fish. It's like wang-ay, but not as splintery.
Don't know what a tilapia is.
Tilapia?
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 Yeah.
I'm tilapier than you. Goodbye.
See ya. Old Bay.
Old Bay. So it's just crab seasonings for seafood, poultry, salads, meats.
So pretty much everything.
Everything.